As a native Black American and a proud member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. Help me help you discover your roots with a personalized genealogy consultation. Paper trail genealogy matters. DNA tests can't prove ethnicity or tribal affiliation. You must search through paper records to dive deep into your family heritage. During the meeting, I will teach you how to navigate the genealogy process with ease. You'll learn how to link tribal affiliation with your ancestors, and I'll show you the step-by-step process I went through to gaining tribal citizenship. Take the first step to unlocking your past. To book a consultation, send an email to mike@keymediapro.com.
My life and giving me the direction I always needed, because growing up, I did not know about my family, nor did I know how to find out about my family. So the fact that I tried other avenues and I felt like I was getting scammed, going through his consultation, I really felt like someone was actually trying to help me out and throwing a lot of fat on my head, bro. A lot of the things that he dropped, a lot of the gems that he's gonna show you, wholeheartedly, man, hang on tight, because that shit blew my mind.
Black, and I'm gonna die probably because some cracker that knows I'm black better than you, nigga, is probably gonna put a bullet in the back of my head.
This is the remix. My father was raised in the era when black niggas couldn't claim Native American.
You don't have to try to be something you're not.
Trying to be something I'm not? Trying to be proud of my African heritage? That's being something I'm not, then fine.
My grandmother was a full-blooded Iroquois.
I know all of that, Mama.
They don't know this. I am alive because of the blood of a people who never scraped or begged or apologized for what they were. They asked only one thing of this world: to be allowed to be.
It broke my heart when you changed your name. I gave you my grandmother's name, a woman who bore 9 children and educated them all, who held off 6 white men with a shotgun when they tried to drag one of her sons off to jail for not knowing his place. And you had to reach into an African dictionary to find a name that would make you proud.
My father was raised in the era when black niggas couldn't claim Native American. Making music would've thought I had help, but the Indians I know wanna be the chief they self.
Show me black. Everybody else, they European, they Australian, they Chinese, they Japanese. Show me black on the planet. We're not black. Race was made up. We're not black, nigga. We're Indian. Yeah. We're Native American. Yeah. How many of y'all grandmothers got Indian in your family?
Yeah, I'm first. Period. I'm Indian.
Wait a second, but what happened to the Indians? We black. Show me black on the planet.
Fuck black history. Ain't no black history. This ain't black history. This ain't that you'll see. They don't know about me. You don't know about me. They gon' know about me. You gon' know about me. See, I am not a slave. I was born to slide. I am not afraid. Hop about a K. Oh yeah, free to God. They went out of state. I'm a child of God. I do not belong to the United States. Fuck black history, tell Uncle Sam he can catch a fade. I went to school, graduated at the top of my class. Still never thought I was over my peers. We did that time together 12 years. Ain't that some movie? I think that it is. They won't control me, I'm really a member. I traveled that road, I came back with the jewels for 'em. When I pull up, they pee how the roof gone. We some dog killers, won't true bones. Know we all spit 'em, we supreme. Somewhere I read a nigga had a dream. They don't want you to remember this. You not no slave, you indigenous. Fuck how they painted them Indians. You went to war with the French and the British men. Quite frankly, you was kings, Merovingians. They took the women and men, made them prisoners. Raised up the children to worship their images. Set up a lab to the genes and they mixed them. And this shit get way deeper than your pigment. What?
Let's go. Let me get some fists and feathers in the chat if you can hear me loud, crisp, and clear, and we'll get this party started. Hit the like button on the way in, share the video if you're a new viewer, subscribe to the channel, and hit that Cash App or the PayPal if you support the broadcast. You know, they got your boy demonetized and shadow banned, but it's up and it's stuck. Today, we're going to be talking about how without black soldiers, the Union would have most likely lost the Civil War. I mean, black soldiers were instrumental
And most people don't realize that not only did folks have to flee and rebel from the plantation, but then they joined the Union forces and went straight to the front lines, battling those that recently oppressed them. I mean, guys, this is a rich heritage. This is a rich lineage. And let's go ahead and get on into the content, shall we?
Where are you going, boy?
It is January 1863. Abraham Lincoln's executive order, the Emancipation Proclamation, has changed the legal status of millions of African Americans from enslaved to free. But for those held behind Confederate lines, the buying and selling of men, women, and children, like 16-year-old Wallace Turnage, continues.
And let me just go ahead and cut in and remind you guys that African American is a misnomer. And post Bacon's Rebellion 1677, they started to reclassify Black Indians and lump us in the same category as African slaves. So make sure you understand the history of the paper genocide. Whenever they talk about African Americans, just mentally replace that with American Indians. Because, again, we didn't become African Americans until fucking 1988. So why are we doing a documentary about 1863 and calling these folks African Americans? The rabbit hole gets deep.
Mr. Minge, thank you for making the trip. This is Wallace.
You know how to drive wagon? Yes, sir. We'll get on in there.
There was an old gentleman who heard I was for private sale.
Thank you very much.
Good day. What's the horse's name, Mr. Minge? George.
He wanted the boy to wait on his family, to drive, to do general housework. He made an application for me and bought me.
Does that look like a fucking African to you? That's an Indian. That's a descendant of a Black Indian that's been reclassified since 1677. That ain't no fucking African. Miss me with that. And actually, guys, this gets crazy because it doesn't reveal this until the very end, I believe. But I'm going to give you guys a spoiler alert. Everything we're hearing, everything we're witnessing, this is a visual interpretation of a real life journal that was discovered. This man, this isn't a fictional tale we're watching. His journal was discovered. He told his own story, and this is his story as told by him, not no white anthropologist.
The old gentleman's name was Mr. Minge.
He's in the heart of Mobile, which is garrisoned all around by a Confederate army. War is enveloping that entire region. And this kid, with his ears and eyes open, knew there was a great crisis in the air.
So for enslaved people, including Turnage, they all knew about the war. Some enslaved people are in the spaces as they're hearing conversations. Some are literate and they will be reading newspapers. The access of knowledge takes on different forms, but everyone knows.
Mr. Minge, I don't think this harness is going to make another trip. Is there another one around you have? There's plenty of life left in this harness, Wallace. After what I spent on you, we won't be buying anything like that anytime soon. You better mend it well. It'll come out of your hide.
Mr. Minge gave $2,000 for me. I waited on his table, drove his carriage, plowed in his field.
But there was one thing that Minge did not know about Wallace Turnage.
He did not know that I was sold for running away.
Wallace Turnage was born in Greene County, North Carolina on August 24, 1846. When he was just a child, he was separated from his mother and sold to a slave trader in Richmond, Virginia.
I was carried out to Richmond and kept as an auction and office boy.
His job was to prepare the slaves to go out onto the auction floor.
They're fixed up.
And one day he's told, "You're in the auction." And boom, he's sold.
I'll pay for my free papers. I just want to get home to North Carolina, sir.
I don't want to hear it. Put on this coat and this hat in 10 minutes.
Yes, sir.
I was ushered then southward to Pickensville, Alabama.
Imagine the shock. Just the beginnings of shock after shock after shock in his life.
During his time on the Pickensville plantation, Turnage makes 4 unsuccessful attempts to reach the United States Army in northern Mississippi.
I was a very fast runner. The dogs nor the people could catch me.
After each escape attempt, he is severely beaten, but his will to return to his mother never fades.
Finally, his owner had had enough. Takes him down to Mobile, sells him to a merchant in Mobile named Minge.
Mobile is bracing for war and guarded like a fortress.
Mobile is almost under siege at the time he arrives. The army's all around the city. The troops are in the streets every day.
I was trying to go back where I came from, but Mobile was well fortified, and I could by no means get out.
Come on, multiple escape attempts. Still never gave up. Still pushing forward, trying to get back to his family. But they want to give us a Roots movie every few years, trying to make it seem like we were docile, subservient people, just content with being good slaves. No! Whip us enough and we running, or we burning the plantation down. Big facts.
The enslaved experience for men, women, boys, girls is going to be very different. Once they've hit the teenage range, they're starting to reach what many within the institution will call their prime age. They're trying to figure out how to navigate this institution that has continued to oppress them. Each act, fighting for his freedom, was a demonstration that he clearly was opposed to what was being put on him.
This was the August of 1864. Mobile was in quite a stir.
You hear that? That's Farragut and his damn Yankee fleet. He will cut off the bay. Wallace, we need to leave promptly for you to pick up my supplies.
And shout out to Dark Star. Dark Star says, what's this movie called? This is a documentary by the American Story YouTube channel. It's called How to Escape a Confederate Fort, the Civil War Slave Who Broke Out.
I'll be back after my dinner with the colonel. Wallace will return before dark with the supplies. I'll rent a horse.
Step up.
Now, Mobile at that point had become a huge strategic site in the Civil War. The Confederates had approximately 10,000 troops occupying the defenses of Mobile. Mobile and Mobile Bay is a tremendously strategic site on the southern Gulf Coast.
While the North begins to turn its attention toward Mobile, beyond Mobile, the two sides are engaging in a series of critical, bloody battles. General Ulysses S. Grant's United States Army has initiated the 10-month siege of Petersburg, Virginia, while General William Sherman's army is on the cusp of capturing Atlanta, a critical supply center for the rebel army.
Key to the survival of the Southern Confederacy was its ability to bring in supplies from abroad. Arms, equipment, uniforms, medicine, engineering supplies, and anything else needed to sustain armies in the Civil War era. The United States Navy was interested in blockading the South and preventing supplies from getting in.
Without Mobile, the South would have little chance to win the war. Wallace Turnage, however, has more immediate worries.
Mr. Minster, I don't know if this harness is going to hold much longer.
Wallace, I told you to keep your eye on that harness. That is your responsibility. Money to spend on a new harness. I spent enough on you. You hear me?
I hear you, Mr. Minge.
The scene in Mobile is a mix of fear and opportunity,
Colonel,
depending on which side you are on.
I'll be home after dinner with the Colonel here. Once you pick up those supplies, Wallace, you be quick to get back to Mrs. Minge.
Yes, sir.
Colonel,
step up.
As I was crossing the car track in Dolphin Street, I hit the horse to get out of the way of the car. Out he went like a locomotive.
God damn it, he told that cracker that harness wasn't gonna hold. Why don't the pink bellies ever want to listen, y'all? Why can't the pink bellies ever take some solid advice?
I had to let the rain go.
Boy, you're blessed. Here's your horse and your harness. Someone must be looking out for you.
Where's the carriage?
The carriage is in town, ma'am. The harness broke.
Boy, he warned you about that harness. You're gonna learn to hate him.
Ma'am, there isn't a man in the state of Alabama that could have fixed this desecrated piece of hide you call a harness.
I got angry.
Dare you speak to me that way?
This is a first-hand account, y'all. This is a first-hand account. We wasn't no bitches, no pushovers. We ain't got no spirit of cowardness like them Africans. No, no, no. Come on, Lincoln may have did an Emancipation Proclamation executive order, but we had to flee and get to the Union territory. We had to make our way from behind enemy lines to a safe haven. Ain't nobody coming to rescue us. And then we had to turn around and win the war for them motherfuckers up north.
Spoke very short to her.
Get in that cellar! When Mr. Minge gets home, he's gonna teach you some manners. That is a certainty.
Now, this was counted the height of impertinence of a slave in the South.
And shout out to Tyrone. Tyrone says we need more media that teaches these complexities. Hey, brother, I'm just trying to be the change that we need in the world. If y'all support the mission at the Cash App, at the PayPal, we got to do what we can with what we got.
Then I came out of the cellar and bid them all goodbye. And went down into the city of Mobile.
Having just been in Mobile, Turnage knows that the city is surrounded. But since Minge's property is already within the fortified ring, he has no trouble getting in. The problem is how to get out.
I told him you were going to teach him a lesson when you got home.
Where is he? Wallace! Wallace!
In Turnage's account, he writes of spending the next week among friends in town, careful not to stay too long at any one location. It's possible that these are people he knew from his trips into Mobile, or from a church he had joined.
Are you sure he's in here? The boys said they'd seen him come in last night. All right, there he is. There he is. Oh, where'd you come from? Who do you belong to, boy? Oh.
Fellas, Mr. Minge is not going to be happy. I've been told to wait out the storm here to get his supplies.
Ah, don't be lying to us, boy. Mr. Minge is offering good money for you, boy. Come on, let's go get him out of here.
Name is Javaris Johnson. I work in the oil and gas industry as a truck driver. I recently just did a consultation for my genealogy with Mike at Key Media Pro. It was awesome. A lot of great information. A lot of stuff I'm going to have to go back and digest because it was so much information, man. And it really helped me to get on the path to enrolling with my tribe and learning everything, man. And it's just a great and awesome experience. You know, I encourage you guys, you know, if you're curious, to go out, do your family tree, and connect with your ancestry.
If you're looking to get genealogy consultation, I highly recommend Mike. You know, he was very thorough, prompt, very knowledgeable. Even taught me some stuff about the background of Indian ancestry and heritage that I didn't know. The biggest piece of it is he taught me how to pull records and really dig into those records to make sure that I have things to match up to be able to take back for my citizenship. So I really appreciate everything he does, and I highly recommend Mike as your genealogist.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Well done.
Hurry it up. Come on. Got all there. Hands up. Come on.
This is his 5th or 6th runaway attempt. He ran away so much he got sold to this new family in a whole new area. He about to get 30 lashes, peeling the flesh off his skin. And that still ain't gonna stop him from getting his freedom.
So they tied the rope around my legs and arms. And they had a strap there, about 2 or 3 leathers thick. And they hit me 30 lashes with that strap. Every lick took the skin off. That was the worst whipping I had ever had.
You will understand me, Wallace. Your home is now right here in Mobile with the missus and I.
God only knows what his back and his body must have looked like. He's in pain. He's desperate. But he simply walks out of town.
Slaveholders have this strange logic that enslaved people are content in slavery, that they want to remain in slavery, that they see the benefit of slavery to themselves, and they appreciate the work that their masters are doing for them.
Minge, like the owners before him, clearly underestimates Wallace Turnage.
Okay. RGK, aka Brother Avery. You were kind of spot on, okay? He does multiple times just kind of casually stroll out of slavery. Okay. I mean, in a minute he's gonna have to travel days through the swamps and stuff, but brother was smooth with it, brother was slick with it. He took his 30 lashings, walked out, looked around, said, okay, I'm gonna go that way. I'm gonna go that way.
The only home he intends to return to is back in North Carolina. Turnage understands that the U.S. Navy is nearby in Mobile Bay, but reaching them will be a near impossible task. After getting outside Mobile, he'll need to walk more than 20 miles through a remote wilderness and then hope to make contact with United States troops near Dauphin Island. Since the Emancipation Proclamation, enslaved people knew that they could often find a safe haven within a U.S. military camp. They might even find an opportunity to join the fight. But for Turnage to have a chance at reaching a U.S. military base, he'll first need to slip through Mobile's fortified ring.
You've been hit by, you've been struck by a smooth criminal. Man's just be power strolling out of slavery, yo. Man's just taking a little power walk through a Confederate camp. If fake it till you make it was a Persian, okay? Shout out to the ancestors.
I put my trust in the Lord and went on and let the result be what it would. And I went right through their camp. And they, one to another, looked at me, but said nothing. And when I got to the gap that led through the breastwork, there was no guard there.
As he is navigating his freedom through a Confederate camp, demonstrates how dismissive these Confederate soldiers were. Turnage is using the system of oppression against his oppressors to gain his freedom.
Well, where are you going, boy?
At this point in Turnage's account, he writes that he is barefoot. It is not clear when or how he lost his shoes. However, with the war and the blockade creating scarcity for basic supplies, a good pair of shoes would be in high demand. Passing through the Confederate camp is just the start of Wallace Turnage's ordeal. He still has some 20 miles between him and his goal.
Now he's literally walking into an area of rivers, swamps, a terrain that nobody should ever try to walk through. He has nothing with him.
Get back! I've never seen so many snakes in my life, before or since. I walked over water and wanted it, but I could not drink it on account of so many snakes. I went 4 days without anything to eat but a few grapes off of a grapevine I found in the woods.
For days, Turnage slogs through Alabama's coastal forest. There's no one around him, but he's not completely alone.
Whoa. Wait a minute. Hold on, boy. I'm not going to hurt you. Hold it right there. Are you hungry? You just wait right there, okay? Wait right there now. Don't move.
The encounter is a reminder that there are others sharing this wilderness with him.
The risk for Black people, free or enslaved, was everything, ultimately their lives. And it's really important to realize that there was a larger commitment to support and protect the freedom of all Black people.
I think I'm gonna keep this one here for myself. Boy, you're tearing everything up. Slow down. You're gonna make yourself sick now. See, you can't just go right straight through it like that. Take it easy now. Oh, I told you.
How this kid physically survived this for a period of almost 3 weeks, it's just hard to believe. He's been through so much horror, whippings, beatings, savagery. He's a survivor.
Fortunately for Turnage, while he has been fleeing slavery, in Mobile Bay, the United States Army and Navy have been decimating the Confederate defenses. While running a lethal gauntlet of floating mines, they first dismantle their Navy and capture the ironclad CSS Tennessee. Then they capture the 3 forts guarding the bay. First, Fort Powell, Fort Gaines, and later Fort Morgan. The United States military is slowly coming into Turnage's view. If he's to reach them, Turnage must continue his journey south while avoiding the attention of Confederate pickets. The pickets travel too wide along a pair of roads stretching through the wetlands.
I had not gone far before I saw that I was in the rebel picket lines. When I saw 2 men come down the road, I would lay down in the broom sage.
Come on, man's real life was an Assassin's Creed mission, y'all. He gotta hide in a bale of hay. He gotta fake it till you make it, casually stroll through the Confederate camp. I mean, come on. How would our ancestors be able to do this if we were such meek and servantile people? How would our ancestors be able to navigate the Alabama wilderness, snakes and gators and everything 20 plus miles if we weren't indigenous to these lands?
Until that passed.
Turnage's path slowly winds southward until eventually he's within sight of a U.S. military encampment.
He finally gets out to the tip of the mainland. It's a place called Cedar Point. And then he spends another series of days playing cat and mouse games with some Confederate lookouts.
Turnage discovers an elevated platform, which he calls the Spy House. It is an excellent vantage point for observing the bay and Fort Powell.
Come on.
And no Manhattan Project, put some respect on our ancestors. This would be even tougher than Bud's training. Bud's training, they still getting fed, they still getting their nutrition, they still giving them little breaks here and there. They ain't actually under threat of capture or death or murder. I mean, our ancestors went through Navy SEAL training times 10.
I was not safe. The Lord had brought me that far. I believed he would carry me farther. I prayed faithfully on Friday night that he would remove me from that place.
This little piggy had none, and this little piggy cried, wee, 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 all the way home.
The next morning, I was awakened by a voice singing within me.
Come on, the ancestors be with us, y'all. He said in the morning he was awoken by a voice that was singing within him. The ancestors woke him up and said, yo, we got danger near. You got to keep pushing. A voice was singing within him.
You leave the cork out of my whiskey?
It wasn't me. Looks like the same footprints from the shore.
Well, go find him. Go.
I got up and came down out of the spy house.
Where is he?
It seemed as though someone invisible led me, and it took me down by the side of the water.
Incredibly, the previous night's tide had delivered a small, flimsy rowboat.
Do you see him?
I got in the little boat, and it held me.
He found some kind of plank of wood, and he just out of, again, crazy.
Hey, in real talk, he was born in bondage, so brother may not even know how to swim. Imagine how harrowing and terrifying that is. Taking a rinky-dinky canoe in the bay, ocean waters. And you might not even know how to swim. God damn, our ancestors been through so much and still came out victorious on the other side. So you wonder why we can't help but shine, right?
Desperate bravery. Started rowing out in the Mobile Bay.
The tide is low, slowing Turnage's progress and keeping him within range of rebel guns. His destination, Fort Powell, is still nearly 2 miles away.
He is fighting in every way to reach a new life. Psychologically and mentally, can I make it? It was never simple.
As he pushes further into the open water, Turnage learns that his small, ragged rowboat is barely seaworthy.
I looked up the bay and saw the water like a hill coming at me.
Once he is within sight of Fort Powell, he begins to hear shouting.
Hey! Do you see me? I'm over here! Hey, please!
And thank you, Trending with Sharice. That's why I do what I do. I mean, they want to give us white man version, watered down his story. When we got ancestors that got firsthand accounts, they wrote this shit down in journals. Why can't we ever get the point of view from the ancestors, directly from the source, directly from the soil, without no white man's perspective thrown on top of it?
In the midst of my struggle, I heard the crash of oars and saw Yankees in a boat.
Hey! Help! Help! I'm sinking! My boat! Hey! Burn my hand!
My boat turned bottom upward just as soon as I had vacated it, and they were struck with silence.
Those Union Navy men just looked at him in silence, as if to say, "Oh my God, how did you get here?"
Mike TV. This was a really good consultation. If you're curious about your Native American history, this brother knows what he's talking about. He has a wealth of knowledge, wealth of information, and his prices is legit. So book a consultation, go through the process, and see what comes out on the other side.
I think it was very informative, very educational, very knowledgeable, because you touched on some things that I was aware of, but I wasn't aware in detail. So it kind of gives like an insight to some of the things that are going on today from history. So I think it's very important to learn your genealogy. And I thank you for the information. You're showing us how to navigate through the system. It's worth 75 or maybe a little bit more to me.
And how could you do this? They rowed him to Fort Powell, which was on a little island he could see from his Cedar Point hideaway. He describes that as his first breaths of freedom. And he stayed there overnight, cared for, fed.
If that man came from African heritage, he would have never ran away in the first place. After the first unsuccessful escape, he would have gave up. There would have never been a third and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth. Ain't no African making this trip. Ain't no African doing no shit like this. But they want to try to convince us we come from some Africans.
I took a look at the rebels' country with a thankful heart. I had made my escape with safety and had obtained that freedom which I desired so long.
Turnage was free. But his journey wasn't over.
He is interrogated by General Granger, who was the overall commander of all Union forces in the Mobile region.
So Turnage, I heard about your journey.
And here was a kid, he was told, no doubt, had escaped from Mobile, had lived in Mobile. They wanted intelligence.
The best intelligence information that the United States Army acquired came from enslaved people that were fleeing their captivity in the Confederate States.
Did you hear that? The enslaved people fleeing captivity, when they get to the Union soldiers, their intel helps win the war. Before we even get to all the black folks that enlisted with the Union and fought the Confederates on the front lines, just think of the valuable intel. These folks just snuck out of enemy lines to Union territory. So they're giving the Union the game. Hey, you go through this swamp here, you go through there. This is how I made it past this encampment here. I mean, y'all, come on. The valuable intel alone. And then we're going to get to the frontline fighters later.
Condition of Confederate morale, what was happening behind Confederate lines.
Farragut's victory at Mobile Bay cut off one of the last of the Confederates' deep water ports. 8 months later, Wallace Turnage, now working for the U.S. military, would see the city of Mobile fall as well. Next, he would go through New Orleans to Natchez and Vicksburg, then to Baltimore, where he makes arrangements to finally reunite with his mother in North Carolina. As he would later write,
This wound up my fifth and last runaway.
When you look at Turnage's journal, one of the first things that comes to mind is how close it came to being lost. It was almost a happy accident that it came into the possession of his daughter's friend, and then she had the foresight and recognized the value of the journal and gave it to the Historical Society.
I first met Wallace Turnage, in effect, in his narrative, leather-bound, blue-lined paper, in a clamshell box. It was simply extraordinary. I could hardly believe it.
Turnage's story and the fact that he himself wrote it down is extremely important because it's not being limited through someone else's lens. It's not being skewed in any way through a racialized interpretation. It is him telling it how he felt it, what this escape meant to him.
Come on, y'all. We come from a proud people. We come from survivors. We come from high achievers. And when this broadcast ends, don't go anywhere. There's going to be a 10-second countdown, and then the next one is going to begin. We're going to be exposing a colonizer amongst us. We're going to be exposing a Blanco conquistador Latino that has been preying on the Native Black American community for oh so long. Let's go ahead and get into the next stream. Don't touch that dial.